open us up with karakia as always, and then we'll get started into the session. Te kaihanga e te wahingaro e mihi ana mo te hā o te koutou oranga, ke kotahi ai o mātou whakaaro, I roto e te tūātea, ke uai mātou ki te pono me te tika, I runga I tō ingoa tapu, ke haumi e, ke hui e, tai ki e. Kia ora te whānau and Bulawinaka, welcome to our Web Hui series. This is our second to last in our Web Hui series. We've had a lot of interest in today's session, which is working by the Maramataka. We are privileged to have Ayla Hoeta, a Maramataka practitioner, be presenting this mātauranga for us. We have the Maramataka DAO with us, which I will put into the chat, but also if you have any questions, pātai, please feel free to put them into the chat as well. So let me introduce our presenter, Ayla. She is a dynamic Wahine Māori, lecturer, fitness trainer, plant-based mama, and Maramataka practitioner. I don't know how she fits everything in. I know there's more to her than that. Ayla was born and raised in South Auckland, Waikato, Tainui, and Mana Whenua to the region. She is currently a lecturer at the University of Auckland. Her mahi is to support and empower rangatahi and students to indigenize their design thinking and practice. Ayla has been a Maramataka practitioner under the guidance of Matua Rereata Makiha. I hope I pronounced that correctly. For many years now, aligning herself to the Maramataka ki tamariki in all aspects of her life, particularly holistic well-being, fitness training, mahimara, and mindfulness. Kia ora, Ayla. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you giving up some time to share this mātauranga. Let's get straight into it. I'm going to pass you over the Zoom floor. I know we're all eager to learn.
Kia ora tāine, kia ora koutou, ka mihi au kia koutou mō tēnei wā. Te rainaine ko te rā o tāne, I roto I te Maramataka. Kia ora tātou, ko ai au he iri tēnei no Waikato Tainui, Ngāti Tahinga, Ngāti Tamoho, ko Ayla Hoeta tōku ingoa. So first and foremost, thank you Tuahine for having me and inviting me to your mahi and to your space. And it's an honor to be here, and I hope that I'll get to conversate with some of the people in the chat. I can't see anyone except for you, e hoa.
Yeah.
So, but I can see the questions if they come through, and I'll try to respond as I go. Yeah, that was funny to listen to you introduce me, but yeah, so I'm a teacher at Auckland University, and I lecture in the design space, but what motivates me and what my passion is aligning mahi with Maramataka. So in the design space, how do you become Maramataka centered or whakapapa centered? And what is Maramataka? So I'm going to get into that soon. Te whakaniho te karakia, I've got a waiata for us, and it's also aligned with the marama, and some of you might know it. Please feel free to join in. Maybe keep the mics off, but you can hear me sing it in the background.
I might follow on muting the mic. Apparently I'm not the Beyonce I thought I was.
Te marama I te pone, ngā whetū I te rangi, o ake ine, papaki kau ana e, me pehera e hine, e mutu ai tō aroha, me rukuruku pēa, ngawai o tāmaki e. Kia ora. So this is a waiata that we sing where I'm from, Waikato Pukikohe. And the translation is the moon at nights with the stars in the sky. I awake and it's a new day. In a gentle breeze, how a young maiden might one put an end to love by diving perhaps into the waters of Tāmaki. Kia ora. Anei te whakatauki, ka timata mo tēnei kōrero, tuia ki te rangi, tuia ki te moana, tuia ki te whenua, karongo te pō, karongo te ao, tihei mauriora. So this is also used as a karakia. It's a very well-known kōrero in Te Ao Māori, and this whakatauki really encapsulates what the Maramataka is in its essence, So it's the ties between the rangi, the sky, the moana, the ocean, the whenua, the land, and the balance between te pō, the night, and the te ao, so the light. So everything is connected and nothing is done in isolation. That's what this whakatauki means. And the maramataka is our way of being attuned to the environment and in the taiao, being one with, not one separate from. So what is today in the maramataka? We've got some dials, and I think, sis, you're going to put it in the chat, and then I'm going to teach you how to set the dial so you know what today is, but I'll just tell you what it is for today. Today is Otane. So Otane is a moderate energy kind of day. It is Tane Mahuta, so it is a give back day, and giving back to Tane Mahuta. So how do you give back to the ngāhere? Tane Mahuta is the forest and the trees and the birds. So in our Indigenous calendar, this is a day that our ancestors and our tupuna would dedicate just to caring for the forest and the birds and everything that lives in the ngāhere. For me, that's watering my plants and paying attention to my little trees around the office. The purpose of our wānanga today is to learn the basics of the maramataka. So some people might already have a good understanding, but bear with us. I'm going to go from like the start. So everyone who might not know the maramataka, they can get a basic understanding. And how does the maramataka connect to our well-being from a very holistic point of view, from a te ao Māori perspective, like in the whakatauki, everything being connected. And then how does this affect our whānau and our tamariki, our families and our kids, and how we work and engage with them and relate to them. This is also a time to come together. So during these lower energy phases like today, it's the best time for wānanga, for hui. So this is a good time for us to be together and learning this knowledge. And some of us, we're all on our own personal journeys. So take from it what you can, add to your kete, and for the rest, yeah, leave it kei te pai. Through this knowledge as well, I think it helps us to reconnect to kaitiakitanga, so guardianship, and how do we practice that in our mahi? So, you know, working with kids and families, and also connecting back to how we uphold te tiriti o Waitangi through exploring Indigenous knowledge, Māori concepts, and also Pacifica concepts, because maramataka came through the Pacific before it arrived in Aotearoa. Maramataka also helps us to connect to ourselves, because when you're connected to hauora holistically, to the taiao, you're also connected to yourself. And then later in the presentation, we're going to talk about some practical things you could do in your workspace and how to align it with your own mahi. So I can like give some tools and some recommendations, but everyone has their own different challenges in their spaces. So it's about taking the tools and exploring how to best apply it to your own mahi. Before I start, some keywords, and I probably already said some, just to make sure you know what I'm saying. Tohu. So tohu is signs or indicators. Marama is moon. Taka is cycle, maramataka, moon cycle. Our maramataka is our environmental calendar. Whetū, stars, koha, to give. Taiao, environment, rangi, sky, whenua, land, moana, water. Tangaroa, water, again, god of the sea. Whiro, the new moon, and the god of darkness, our atua of darkness. Rākau nui, full moon, and tamatea is unpredictable. Yeah, I'm going to talk more about these kupu later, soon. Okay, maramataka. What is the maramataka? The maramataka is our environmental and lunar calendar. Lots of people you might hear say it's the moon calendar because marama means moon. But if you go anywhere and you say that in front of a kaumātua, which is an elder, you might get a growling, because the maramataka is not just based on the moon cycles. It is based on the moon cycles, but it is not isolated from other tohu that happen in the environment. So It's an environmental calendar. This calendar has 30 days in a month, not 31 and not 28 or 29 like our leap year month, just 30. And every iwi is different. So here in Tamaki, you know, Ngāti Whātua, Waiohua, Kawerawamaki, Tainui, every iwi has their own translation of their maramataka based on their own tohu, which are indicators in their environment. So if you live by the water on the west coast, you know, you'll see different things to what people see on the east coast. On the east coast, you see matariki. For a lot of us on the west coast, we see puanga. So we see a different star and other things as well. The maramataka was brought through the Pacific, and it carries 5,000 years of mātauranga knowledge. And we have tohu that we talk about here in Aotearoa that connects back to different islands, like Rehua, which is our summer star. And in Hawaii, their pohutukawa is Lehua, which blossoms when Rehua rises. That's the Antares star. So there's many different observations that have been carried on through the generations that connect right back around the Pacific Islands. The maramataka is based on 3 parts of the tile, and it's the whenua, the land, the moana, the ocean, and the sky, rangi nui. So whatever happens in the ocean, something else is triggered on land, and something else is triggered in the sky. When one star rises, something else blossoms, and that's our beliefs, and that's our stories of, and that is also how our tupuna were so aligned with the natural movement, because it was very precise with those 3 connections. The maramataka is based on phases of the marama. So I'm going to go through those phases soon. There are seasons, but our seasons are not like how we've learnt seasons, our 4 seasons, summer, autumn, winter, spring. In the Indigenous Māori calendar, we have summer and winter, just 2 seasons, but in those 2 seasons, like in summer, there's 7 phases, and in winter, there's 6. So it works out to be 13 phases, and in the Pākehā Western calendar, you have 12 months. So our tupuna also had their own, you know, cycles and months that they were very aligned with and knowledgeable of. Okay, I'll go to the next. This picture is Papa Rediata. Yes, so everything I've learned whānau, I have been taught with the guidance of Rediata Makiha, and he is a tohunga, he's a rangatira, he's a chief when it comes to anything around Māori knowledge, and he's from Hokianga. So he brought his maramataka so willingly, and he shared it here in Auckland. He works for Auckland Council, he worked in the universities, and he's worked in the astronomy centre, and he's done amazing work. So everything I learned, I've learned from him, and I've extended in my own, through my own iwi knowledge, which is Tainui, and where I live, which is Weymouth, Manurewa. So trying to apply it in my own way, but with the guidance of an elder. Okay, so what is a maramataka? This is the maramataka dial here. And I have edited this dial to align the days with Auckland. So if you go up to Hokianga or up north, or you go down to Wanganui, some of the days are slightly different in the alignment. So for example, for these tamatia days, we have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but in other areas, they only have 3. But for Tangaroa, on the opposite side, they'll have 4 Tangaroa days instead of 3. So we're just going to stick with this dial because this is the one that I understand the most for Auckland. And Laura, you're going to send a link to everyone. So I recommend you print this and then try to practice how to set it. And what you have to do is cut this little dial with the numbers, you stick it into the middle, and then you set your dial by knowing one date, and it is the full moon. If you know the full moon for March, write it in the chat, and then can you read it out to me? And then we'll try and test it so you can see if today lands on Otani. So what is the full moon date? Does anyone know? Sis, did anyone write in the chat? No.
Oh, hold on. There might be someone that's just written it in.
Yep.
18th of March.
Yep, that's ka pai. So the number 18, you would align with rākau nui. You always set your dial on rākau nui. Thank you for the date. So if rākau nui was the 18th, and today is the 29th, so you would go 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm a day off, but I went by the full moon of the 17th. So the moon is full for 3 nights. So that means today is o tāne o rongonui, and tomorrow o Māori, the next day matu whenua, the next day is whiro. And that's how you set the dial. If you can just align the date of the full moon with rākau nui, you'll know the date for every other day of the month. So this dial here is just a general dial. So you know all the days. It tells you the energy flow of those days, the give back days, just real basic stuff. And then this dial is a planting dial. So anyone who's passionate gardeners, it tells you like the best days to plant, to weed, to not plant, or to plant root crops or things that are above the land and things like that. Okay. So to understand the Maramataka, we're going to go in 4 key phases. It's easy to remember because we know 4 weeks of the month. So 4 phases for us. The 4 phases to remember is this rākau nui phase, the purple one. And rākau nui, rākau means tree, nui means nui, big. So big trees. But what it actually means is on the full moon, trees grow really big. So when the moon falls up, the gravitational pull is its strongest on the earth, and the water content rises to its highest, and everything that is planted is more likely to flourish. So it's like science as well. When the moon is full, plant everything. When the moon is empty, plant nothing. So it's kind of the opposite. So rākau nui, we know, is the phase of the most highest productivity, the highest energy, and that might mean social and physical, but when it comes to like trying to focus on one thing, it's kind of hard because your mind's everywhere for some of us, but for other people, they might find it's really draining. So these 4 dates, it's usually in 4 to 3 days, super high, so full moon. So that's that one. And then you go a week after rākau nui. So the second phase is tangaroa. And tangaroa lasts for about 4 or 5 days as well, but we'll just go with the blue here. And tangaroa is our god of the ocean, but it's also, so if the full moon is full and the energy is its most productive, it has to drop. So it drops down during the kore phase and energy is really low, and you stop physical activity and you stop social, well, you're supposed to, if we were aligning with the tile in the environment. And then it goes back up. And during the tangaroa phase here, it's the most productive time ever. So the full moon is high energy, but tangaroa is the most productive. And we've been taught by our elders that anything during that tangaroa phase is more likely to be positive. You're more likely to get positive outcomes. You're more likely to be a high achiever, and you're more likely to get anything you plant flourishing. Anything you go try to catch fishing, everything is out. So it's kind of like during that tangaroa phase, everything is in abundance. And then when you think about a wahine and the cycle of a wahine, a woman is a part of the environment, you know, connected to the tile. When papatūānuku is fruitful, I'd say fruitful, so is a wahine. So that means you're more, maybe this is the time where wahine would get hapu, I would say. And then on the opposite side of this time is probably when you might get your monthly. Sorry for the guys in the chat. This is for the wahine. But anyway, so the tangaroa phase, very super productive. Rākau nui phase, highest energy. And then on the opposite side of the month, so Rakanui, full moon, Tangaroa, half moon, whiro, this green phase is the lowest phase of the month. And that's the new moon. So it's the opposite to the full moon time. And during the whiro time, we don't plant anything. We're not supposed to be out. It's the best time to be home and working from home if you can, or just taking care of the home fires. And there are many stories about not going, you know, it's dangerous on the water, to take caution if you're going to be in the ngahere, like in the forest, and even with people. So if people's feelings, like during Tangaroa, your feelings are really out there, you're abundant, but during the low phases like whiro, you're not. So it's harder to get outcomes from people. And there's a reason for these lower times. It's a time of reflection and tapping to your own internal mātauranga, your own knowledge. So it's more around mahi a hinengaro, so connecting intellectually rather than socially and physically. And then if you go 1 week after whiro, so you got 1 phase, 2 phase, 3 phase, 4 phase, that's tamatia. And tamatia is unpredictable. Tamatia ngana, tamatia hotu, tamatia a io. So that time is not low energy and it's not high energy, it's all over the place. So how far away is that? That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is next week, like next Wednesday onwards, we'll be in the tamatia phase, and that's when the environment is super unpredictable, and so are people. So you might have it might be raining 1 minute, next minute it's sunny. Because I keep a journal of the phases, and this is a time where there are a few more car accidents, I would say, during the tamatia phase. And yeah, so that's kind of like a real basic understanding if you're just trying to get into the Maramataka and understanding what is it and what does it even mean. It's just the natural flow, like the environmental flow based on the pull of the tides, based on the environment, the lunar cycle, you know, the energy changes every day. It's not the same, but it's similar for about 3 days, and then it changes to the next phase like that. But I would recommend trying to remember either the 2 phases, which is Rako Nui and whiro, or if you want to be extra onto it, the 4 phases, Rako Nui, Tangaroa, whiro, and tamatia. So I could try to go through every single day, but even I don't remember every single day unless I check. Some days I forget, you know, it's like learning another language, and it takes a lot of practice. So yeah, okay. So I already talked about some of the activities during the different phases. So I'm going to skip this one. So as well as having 4 key phases, there's 4 koha days. So if you think, so a koha day is a give back day. It's a reciprocity day, giving back. Every week we have 1 koha day, and that day is today. How do you give back today? If you're working with whānau, how do you give back to whānau? Maybe it's giving back to yourself. And every give back day is dedicated to a different atua. So in our culture, our environment is connected to a different atua. So for example, Otane is Tane Mahuta, the god of the forest. Uenuku, that means rainbow. So that's connected to the heavens, Ranginui, the god of the heavens. And then there's like Oike, which is connected to Papatūānuku, our Mother Earth. So giving back to our Mother Earth. And then the last one, Huna, that one is connected to Tangaroa. So it's giving back to our water. So our elders say that if you give back during these days, because of the natural energy and the environment, whatever you give back at this time returns tenfold. I mean, we should be giving back every day, but these are the specific days we're supposed to give back rather than take. And that's coming back to that balance of reciprocity is not just to receive and to receive, but to also balance it with the giving, and that's what these days are for. When I'm giving back to the water, how do you give back to the water? Auckland has been through a drought, not this year, but last year and the year before, 2 years of a drought. So it must be saving water for us. And I don't think the problem in Auckland is that we didn't have enough water, because we had a lot of rain, but it was the way we're capturing it, I think. But yeah, so for us, it's just saving our water and being more mindful of how we use our water, and, you know, reusing water. What we wash our dishes with goes straight down the sink. Maybe it can go in the garden, but just things like that, cleaning up the waterways. But yeah, it just really makes us mindful of how do we practice kaitiakitanga, not just for people, but for every day, our practices when we use water and when we use pathways and things like that. Oike, giving back to land, giving back to Papa Tuanuku, giving back to each other. How can you give back to someone today? If you're around nobody, how can you give back to yourself? And then o tāne, so this is a day for giving back to our trees and birds. I know someone who lives in a rural setting, and something that they do a lot on this day is they pick up dead birds and they bury them on o tāne, and they do a karakia for them, and that's their way of giving back to o tāne. And then uenuku, so our rainbow day, that's giving back to Ranginu, but it's actually giving back to ourselves, because it's a day to elevate your thoughts. So elevate your thinking, time for mindfulness. How do you make time to be with yourself or be in stillness so that you can practice mindfulness? That's really what it is. Karakia, whatever it is for you, but everyone has a different way of reconnecting to their own mindfulness. But that's what uenuku is specifically for. So when you think about mental well-being, that day is about strengthening and nurturing our mental well-being. I thought I'll just quickly touch on the low days. So Whiro is who we know as the god of darkness, but it's also the name of the new moon. So it's when you don't see the moon at all, and that's that time where you're supposed to stay home, kia tūpato, be careful. And it's also a time where people can be more vulnerable. So if you think about our tamariki, there'll be certain times when they're more unsettled, or they're more prone to accidents, or they're more hoha, annoying. It'd be helpful to check what's the Maramataka phase when our kids are like that. And I know like some schools are aligned with the Maramataka, and there was a school up north who during like a rākaunui phase, they don't keep the kids inside. If it's not raining, they take the kids outside, because the rākaunui is supposed to be out. But if it's a whiro phase, that is where they'll practice more like mahi a hinengaro, which is what schools do mostly anyway. And then if you think about traditionally how our tupuna, how our elders and kids used to retain information and learn, it was during these low reflective phases where it's more quiet. They would wānanga in the dark. I think it was more around the kore and that huna phase where people would go into a marae, cover all the windows, keep it dark for those whole 3 days, and wānanga and recite information for 3 days in darkness. And that was their way of learning and retaining information. And because of the reflective phase, whiro or kore or huna, it was easier at that time to retain information. So they were building a muscle that we probably don't use today around memory. And as we know, our culture is very oral, and a lot of the traditions were passed down through oral. And then some of that oral was caught in carvings and things like that. But it was a lot of memory practice and retention of information. So these are the best times ever during these low phases to be trying to connect with rangatahi and kids around stillness and learning. And if it's not these phases, they're probably going to be hypo. Okay, I just stuck in some examples of how to apply the Maramataka. So I'm pretty sure wherever you are working, there might be a street name that has a Māori kupu, or if it's not a street, it might be like a natural landscape, a maunga or a river. And usually those names, they connect to stories of that place. And sometimes connecting to the Maramataka is connecting to that place and understanding the landscape of that environment. So that's one way of connecting and applying Maramataka, is to connect to those, connect to place really. And then another key way for Maramataka is to add the key phases to your calendar, because most of us use calendar or journals, and you can put the days above your, so if today is Tuesday, you could write o tāne on Tuesday, or just maybe the 2 phases or the 4 phases, just add it to your calendar. That's how I've been influencing my design school team, is just trying to, every team meeting we have once a week, I say Maramataka minute. So I try and get a minute in there before everyone leaves. So just say, this is the Maramataka today, and this is what it means, and then that's it. But it's like that consistency, like how do you continuously remind the people around you and ourselves that this exists and we can practice it. Other ways, definitely learning to set the dial. So that dial that you should all get a copy of. If you can set that, it's really helpful to know where you are in the month. And then, because if you don't know where you are, you don't know which energy phase you're in. So that's super helpful. And then I've just put other things on there, like keeping a journal, because it's really the tohu that indicate the Maramataka. So if you live near an estuary or a rākau or something that's where something is growing, you probably have noticed tohu over the years, or if you grew up somewhere, you would have noticed different patterns. Those are the tohu that make the Maramataka for that area. So the Maramataka we're all learning today is a general one, but you'll have something specific to where you observe those tohu. And then there's other practices like mahi mara, so planting by the Maramataka, because there are specific planting days when the water table in Papatūānuku is so high, you're more likely to flourish if you plant something at that time. And then on those low phases, it's probably very unlikely that those plants will survive. So if you want to test that and you like planting, then this is a good way to practice. So this is something that I do at home. Every full moon, we plant something. Every whiro, I try to get out there and weed the garden. And it just gets you into the tile, because that's really what it's about. We've had so many conversations around how do you balance using technology to revitalize this knowledge with actually being in the environment. And it's hard because all of our kids use phones and things like that, which is awesome, but that's not a Maramataka. It'll tell you the Maramataka, but it's not until you're like practicing it that you're really, living it. Okay, all right, next one. I feel like I'm talking so much. I'll come back to this one.
All good.
So if you think about a horoscope, some of us are Cancers and Geminis, and all the different horoscope signs. And then there's the Chinese calendar that talks about the year you were born and which animal you are. This is kind of like our horoscope. So if you can imagine, if you have a child, what kind of energy does your child have? And you can go back and find their birthday. So if your child was born, okay, my son was born August the 1st. I've got twins. August the 1st, 2007. If I go back to August 2007, full moon dates, it comes up with the full moon dates. And I always put New Zealand because I know we only have one moon in the world, but the moon seems to change in different hemispheres and it puts me off. So if you Google the date, full moon, New Zealand, it'll come up with a whole list of the full moon dates. And then for my sons, because I wanted to check, I went back to August 2007 and it said the full moon was, I think it was the 2nd of August. So that means my son was born on Oturu, which is the day before the full moon. And that full moon phase is for 3 days. So they're born during the highest phase of the month, and they're so hypo. And I was like, that is why you guys are hypo, because that's when, but anyway, you can kind of just check like when you was born and what the season was and where your maramataka was, and it's kind of helpful. And this might be a practice that helps whānau with their own kids as well, like understanding, or first understanding what the maramataka is and trying to realign with that, and then understanding how it connects to your own birthday and your own āhua, because your āhua is kind of a reflection of the maramataka. But I also know for a lot of our families, they don't, like the maramataka was suppressed knowledge, and during the Tohunga Suppression Act, that was probably the most impactful. It had the most impact on suppressing this knowledge. So a lot of families have lost this, and it's only just starting to come back now. And yeah, I guess this is a part of all of us trying to revitalize maramataka, is being here, learning what we can, taking what we can, and sharing it with other whānau, other colleagues, other friends. What else have I got here? Each person is different. Tamariki are not separate from their whānau. So that's just going back to that holistic view of everything is connected and nothing is done in isolation. So working with tamariki, it is good to understand them, but it's also good to understand the whole whānau, or the connections to their whānau and the wider. This is, I added this slide here because I sometimes don't realize that for a lot of people, whānau, there's this basic understanding that whānau is just the family members in your family. But on a deeper level, and if we go right back to our tupuna knowledge, whānau is not just people. Your whānau is ngā tangata, the people, te taiao, the environment, and the whenua, the place. So your family is made up of the people in your family, the environment that you live in, and the land that you live on. And every decision that is made by you or for you has to take those three parts into account. And that's how our people operated traditionally. And that is true kaitiakitanga, when you're caring for all those parts. But today it's not always easy to practice this, because you know, we all have different mandates and things are done in isolation and things, yeah. But I just always like to put this back into anything that I'm learning, to remind myself that my whānau is not just my people, it's my environment, and that is also enhanced through the maramataka practice. Okay, this is my son at week 12. This is week 1 of the kumara plant. This is one activity that I tell lots of people to do. If you're trying to plant for the first time, find the day in the maramataka, a good day to plant, and get you a kumara, because it's cheap and it's really low maintenance and it's beautiful. So that's what it looks like after week 12, as long as you keep the cup of water full. And so that's my son's kumara, and we've got them everywhere around the house. I've got them everywhere in my office too. And a kumara has its own mauri. So it's a beautiful energy to have in your space. And there's some stories about, you know, how our ancestors treated kumara was like a baby, because it was so precious when they brought it on the waka, when they navigated here. And then they learned when to plant it, like the tangaroa phase, which is the most productive phase. You plant kumara at that time, you'll get plentiful and medium size. If you plant kumara during rākaunui phase, when the water content is at its highest, you get big fat kumaras and they rot really easily. So it's not the best time to plant. It's the best time to have kumaras that you could show off. And so our tupuna knew to plant it at that time, and that's what they would serve to their manuhiri, to their guests, because it was all about how you fed your guests, and that made them look really flash. These are the seven summer phases of summer. Matiti kura, matiti hana, matiti muramura, matiti kaiwai, Matiti Raurehu, Rau Tapata, and Rau Angina. So we are currently around these two phases. And these are kind of like, I would say, our seasons. But each summer phase has a natural indicator like a tohu. And then, you know, so the pua wānanga, that's what I have in my background, the white flower, a white clematis. And when the white clematis blossoms, then that was the indicator that summer has started. That summer was moving into the second phase. The first indicator was the ripening of the red berries, and then it's the pua wānanga. And then it's like these other things, the northern rata, old puhutikawa. When the puhutikawa is really red, the kinas are really fat, like there's all these different tohu. And in Hawaii, when the puhutikawa has blossomed, their star lehua is in the sky, same as us. So these are all the different tohu that have been passed down. Matiti kaiwai is like the driest part of summer, so that's around January. And te wariwi kataina rehua, like that's a saying that means in the 8th month of the year, the ground laughs at rehua, but really it means the ground is dry and there's heaps of cracks. But that's how sayings were captured, really poetic. Whānui is the star of harvesting, and that should be up now actually. I'm not a star expert, I just know that there's certain times the star rises and they indicate something, but sometimes I don't know where to look for them, so I'm still learning myself. But I do know, like for us here in Auckland, when it comes to matariki is a New Year indicator, but it's not the only one. So we have puanga and rehua. So rehua, our summer star. The stars rise in the east and they set on the west. Matariki and puanga, they rise in the east. And for us in like South Auckland, we can see puanga rising in June, July-ish, at the same time that rehua sets. And that's our indicator that the new year has started, because sometimes we can't see matariki, but I know that most of us know about matariki, and that's kapai, and it's cool that matariki finally has become an official holiday, public holiday for our country starting this year. And Papa Ririata, who's like my mentor, has been a part of this panel group with what's that? There's another Māori expert, Professor Mātamu. They've been the ones working with government to organise the dates for the next 50 years. And so he's been a part of that group, and they've aligned the matariki date as close as they can to a weekend. But trying to be tika and when it will actually rise. And the way that they know it will rise is because of matariki always rises in the tangaroa phase of pipiri. So that tangaroa phase, when you set your dial, that tangaroa phase in June is when matariki will rise. So that's pretty precise. Like, it's pretty amazing when you start to study these things, how precise you can time it right down to when a flower will blossom. I can't do that, but I know some people can. Yeah, gosh, I think, how am I going for time? Okay, I might stop here so that we can play this game. It's a really simple game. Kahoot, if anyone has played it, if you haven't, I'll explain it. But it's just for us to test, like, what have we learnt, and just have a little bit of fun before we end our session. So I'm gonna escape. And Laura, if you can put the Kahoot into the chat, I'll explain how it works, and then we'll play, eh? This will take about 7 minutes.
Let me get the Kahoot link.
So for those who haven't played Kahoot, you just Google kahoot.it. So kahoot.it. You'll have to open up another browser, or you can use your phone, and then it'll take you to a page and you just put in a code. Do the puanga dates change just like Ramadan? Yes. So every year the cycle is not on the same date. That's a good partai. So puanga always rises around the Oturu phase of July. So that day is not going to be the same as it was last year. I'm not sure what it is this year, but that's how you would set your dial. So you find the full moon date for July, set your dial and find where Oturu is, and that's roughly the day that puanga would rise. What else have we got here? Fertile bub. Fertile. Yeah.
So I've put the Kahoot link as in for everybody to click and be able to enter. Do you have the pin code there with you?
Yes.
There we go. So if everyone can click that link, that will ask you to enter a pin.
There's the pin, 7772195.
There you go. And then people should be able to start entering. There we go. We see names.
Go, Nai.
Let's go.
Yes. Jess. Oh, cool. Kel, with the spider.
There we go.
Whoa, big group.
Nice.
Shoulder. I feel like I just talked so long.
No, you didn't. It sometimes gets a bit lonely because it's just you on the screen. But you did really well. Honestly, we I think just all watching and going, yes, just soaking it all.
Okay, I'll wait one more minute and then I'll start.
Yeah.
Kōrero. Oh. Okay. We're gonna katimata.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck. Is there a prize?
I potentially could find a prize. I potentially could find a prize.
Okay, first partai. What day do you use to set the Maramataka dial? What day?
All the answers are coming in thick and fast.
2, 1. Kia ora, rākau nui. Oh, let's go, Catherine. Okay, next question. What is the tamatea phase like? Is it unpredictable, sleepy, productive, or reflective? Unpredictable. So tamatea is that it's not high, it's not low, it's all over the place. The weather changes, people's feelings change, and that's going to be next week. What is the Maramataka based on? G. Books, people, waka, or tohu?
Oh, that's a good question.
If people want to join late, the code's down the bottom in the right corner. Oh, whoa, 100%.
Wow. Well done, team.
Oh, okay. The faster you answer, the more points you get. What moon is Whiro? Half moon, full moon, sun, new moon, if anyone clicks sun. Kapai. Yes, it is definitely the new moon.
Oh, we have some movement going on the board.
There are 31 days in the Maramataka. I forgot to say that. You know how we have 30 days? We always have 30 days in the Maramataka, and every 3 years, Kapai, yes. So every 3 years, whoever observes the stars, when the Takurua star rises too high above the horizon, then they know you add in an extra month, and it makes up the time.
Oh no.
What does it mean in English?
Oh, answers coming in quick.
Three, 2, 1. Yeah. Oh boy. Oh, Catherine, man, it's on a roll.
Catherine's holding that top spot right there.
Jess is right there. What 2 phases are reflective and best for ahinengaro? So mental. Here's a hint, it's the low phases. It's the low phases. There's 2 right answers. Kapai. Yep, kore and whiro are 2 low phases. Oh.
There's a table change.
When is the best time to grow kumara and go fishing? Not the highest time, the best time. The most productive time. Fertile time. Kia ora, kapai. Yep, kangaroa phase. Which day is a specific give back day to the heavens for mental health? This one is a bit harder. Yeah, kapai.
Oh, nice.
Yep, huenuku. Okay, 3 more questions. What is uenuku giving back to? Yep, ranginui. Kapai.
Oh, there's a little more change there.
Which is the most productive phase of the month? Productive, fertile, abundant. Not the highest. Tangaroa phase. So that one always gets people. Rākonu is the highest, but it's not the most productive. It's the most hypo. Okay, is this our, 2 more questions. Which phase has the highest gravitational pull? So this one is the highest. Kia ora. Yes, Rākonu. Oh,
Catherine's back on top spot there.
last partai. What does kore mean? Sorry, I don't know if I mentioned this in the. It's a really low phase, so it wouldn't be productive. It wouldn't be as happy. It wouldn't Hey. Oh, kia ora.
Here we go.
Woohoo!
Congrats, Wana. Congrats, Ruakawa.
Yay! Hi, whānau. Raue. Good job. And also to the other two. And everyone for having a go.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Sorry, it's nearly 3 o'clock, but if anyone, I'm still going to hang around if anyone has pātai.
Awesome. Yes. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat. See a lot of ngā mihi and thank you.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. If anyone does have any questions and it comes to them after they've left, please feel free to send them through to me and then I can send them on to Ayla, the expert, and she will send through a response, and we're happy to do it that way too.
Oh, kia ora. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
I guess just before we wrap up, I just want to mihi to you, Ayla. Thank you so much again for jumping on board and, you know, sharing your mātauranga. These are really important pieces for our community, and anything that empowers them and helps their journey, we're all about. And we just want to thank you again for sharing that mātauranga around the Maramataka. Before we go, I'm just going to close us off with karakia, and then I'll leave the space open in case anyone wants to stay behind and have a little bit of a chat as well. Unuhia, unuhia, unuhia ki te uru tapanui, kia wātea, kia māma, te nākau, te tinana, te wairua, e te ara tangata. Koia rā e rongo whakairia ake ki runga, kia tina, tina, hui e, tai ki e.